Hi there. Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about the motifs and the symbols in A Raisin in the Sun. Motifs and symbols are two different things. Okay, they always come together, but they're not the same. Okay, so first I'm going to explain to you what is a motif and what's a symbol. Okay, now the motif. A motif is an idea that is where it kind of appears throughout the story. Okay, it may not represent anything, but it kind of carries a common feel or atmosphere or meaning throughout the whole story. Okay, so that's a motif. A symbol represents an idea. Okay, it represents something that the characters want or something that the story wants to achieve. Okay, so that is the symbol. So these are two things. They come together usually, but they're not the same. Okay, so now we're going to look at the motifs first for A Raisin in the Sun. There are two. First is music. Okay, now what does music do for Raisin in the Sun? First of all, it reveals character. Okay, if you notice, there are two types of music actually that's played in this story. Okay, so you find that the music that was played basically reflects the culture, the people, the time setting. Okay, at the time. So the first one was this is the beginning of Act 2 and Scene 1 when Ruth was doing some housework and she had the blues playing in the background. Okay, so now how does the blues reflect the setting and the culture? Well, let me read a little bit to you. Okay, the blues frequently took the form of loose narrative, often relating the racial discrimination and other challenges experienced by African Americans. Okay, the call and response format that's used in the way the blues is played, this can be traced back to the typical African music, right? Their kind of their style of music, and so you find that the blacks at that time, they used to do this really well. In fact, in the 1940s, when the blacks they actually contributed quite a lot to the music scene in America. Okay, and well, this was all before the fall of the economy. Okay, and so they were actually contributing to the music scene, and they played the blues, and it was actually quite well accepted by everyone. So somehow playing the blues at that time for this play, it kind of serves as a time setting for the play, and also it tells you what kind of family they are. They're that kind of family that was present at that time, and they enjoyed this kind of music, probably because they represent that class. You won't expect George Murchison's class to like this kind of music, or he may like it, but he won't want to have anything to do with it because it mostly is identified with the general black population. Okay, so you have the blues. And then later, when Asagai brings or his gift box from Nigeria for Benita. She puts on the robe and everything, and she puts on the music, and this African music. So you see, it kind of, you identify the music with what she's wearing. So there again, you can see this connection to basically represent the culture, probably like a clue, of where is it coming from, or what's that thing she's wearing, a bit African music in the background. So you kind of, it's a place setting. Okay, so you have music as one of the motives. Okay, and so besides revealing character, you find that music is somewhat panacea, okay, like a medicine, a way for them to forget. When Ruth appears in the beginning of Act 2 with the music playing in the background, you know that she has just had the little drama just before that, when she fainted because she was pregnant. She wasn't taking care of herself, and with all the family's worries weighing on her shoulders, as she's doing the housework and she had that music playing, it was probably a way for her to deal with her situation. Yeah, just something to soothe her. So you find that it's a panacea in that way. And another thing, when Ruth has the African music playing, and then Walter comes home, and you know how Ruth and Walter are always at loggerheads, they never see eye to eye, but suddenly when this music was playing, they were both so equally excited about it, and they actually combined their talents to make up this song, just using the beats, the African beats. And so for a little while, you find that, oh, they're good friends. And maybe they also forgot what their previous fight was about. So it could be, I mean, if you want to say that it was the underlying current of their heritage that has pulled them together, maybe so. But what we see here is how music kind of like, it's a form of escapism, a way for them to run away from what they're actually thinking of, the things that they're that's worrying them. Okay, so yeah, so you find music as one of the motives that runs throughout the story. Okay, now the second motive is money. Okay, the second motive is money. Now, money in this whole play was the mobilizer of dreams. It allowed dreams to happen or not happen, but it was the thing that kind of pushed them to make them think that they can actually achieve their dream. Secondly, it actually served as a generational conflict. Okay, how the two generations, you kind of see their priority, and you see how they are different based on how they wanted to spend the money. Okay, now money was the issue that ran from the beginning of the play right to the end. Okay, it started off with Travis, the 10-year-old, asking, when is the check coming? Okay, and that's like right in the beginning when he wakes up early in the morning. That's his first question. And then it goes right to the end of the book, where just before they start moving out, it was them talking about not giving up the house and not accepting Linda's money. Okay, so you find that the idea of money runs right from the beginning of the play right to the end. Money was an issue for them, because first it was the lack of it, okay? And then next, when they got the money, the problem was the abundance of it. First, they didn't have any, and then suddenly they had this money and they didn't know what to do with it. Okay, they couldn't decide. So now you find that they all had a different idea of how it should be spent. Okay, but one thing we can see is how they all used money as either a means to get something or a weapon against something. Okay, like for example, you have Mama. She used the money as a means of uniting the family, because she knew that all they needed to do was get out of this house where they're all suffering because there wasn't enough space. There wasn't. It was just bad for their spirit. Okay, and so she just knew that they needed to get out of that house, and so she used the money as a means to unite the family. Okay, but at the same time, you see, Walter wanted to use that money to start his liquor business, which Mama was not very happy about because it was just not very Christian. Yeah, and so she needed to shoot down the idea. So there you go. When she decided to go out and buy the house, use the money as a means to unite the family, what she was doing at the same time was the money was a tool to get rid of Walter's dream of getting that liquor shop. Okay, so here you can see how she used money as a means to achieve something and a tool to get rid of something. Okay, now Walter, before you start feeling sorry for Walter, Walter did the same thing. You see, he used money to get rich. Okay, that was his means of getting rich, means to get rich. Yeah, he wanted to use the money to invest in that liquor business so that he can be rich. But what he didn't think twice about doing was he used money as a tool to basically not allow Benita to achieve her dream of being a doctor. I mean, we all know how much he accepted her being a doctor. I mean, he never liked the idea because he said she's a girl. She didn't have to have such big dreams. Why? Maybe it was just not normal for a girl at that time, for a black girl at that time, to have such big dreams. Or maybe if she became a doctor, maybe she'll just make him look bad. We don't know what his reasons were, but you know that he was against it. Okay, so by using money as a means to make his family rich, he used it as a tool and jeopardized her dream. Okay, so you find money here is used as a tool and as a means to get something. Okay, a tool to get something and a weapon to get rid of something. Okay, so these are the two motives that we find in the story. Okay, the two motives are music and money. Okay, these are the two motives. Now let me move to the symbols. Okay, what's a symbol again? A symbol is something that is symbolic. It represents an idea. It represents. It could represent someone's dream. It could represent a character's desires. Anything. Okay, it represents an idea in the book. Okay, so now we are going to look at the first symbol, which is Mama's plant. Okay, you almost can't see her without the plant. Okay, if you look at the story, when Mama first appears on the stage, she walks directly from her room straight to the window where her plant was. Okay, and then fast forward the whole play, at the end, the closing scene, you see Mama and she's holding her flower pot. Okay, so you just basically can't see Mama without it. Okay, so now what does it symbolize? What does her plant symbolize? Here we find that it is a symbol of her devotion to her family. Okay, firstly to her family, her devotion to the family, and secondly is the devotion to the dream that she had with Big Walter. Okay, so now we see here, okay, how she treats the plant. She takes care of the plant despite the place just not even being ideal. I mean, we all know if you want to have a plant, even an indoor plant, you have to have the right spot for it. Okay, it's got to have sunshine. It has to have enough nutrients. Okay, and only then it can grow. But in this case, they have a tiny little window, and there's barely any sunlight coming in, and that's why you find that the way the plant was described, it wasn't exactly thriving. Okay, it was stuck in a flower pot in a tiny little space with not much sunlight, so it's not really growing the way it should. Okay, the flower pot as well, I'm sure it's not that big because it can fit in a tiny little window, so you know it's not very big, and because of that, you know that the flower pot is stifling the growth of the plant. But you see, no matter what, Mama takes care of it. Okay, she waters it and she suns it and she does whatever she can just so that it doesn't succumb to its surroundings. Okay, and you see, that's just like her family, isn't it? Just like the flower pot that's tiny, they're in this apartment that is really tiny, and so they can't really thrive in that condition, right? How are they going to live comfortably, and how are they going to be happy? If you're not comfortable, you can't exactly be happy. I mean, you can tell yourself you're comfortable because you don't need this and that and this and that, but there's a limit to how much you can do in a little space. So I suppose the size of the apartment stifles them as well. Okay, and they can't grow from that. But you see, Mama tries her best to make it as comfortable as she can. Okay, she like when she questions Ruth about Travis's breakfast, if he's had proper breakfast, if he's had something warm, if he's taken care of, and then she makes sure they take care of themselves. Like Ruth, she takes care of Ruth. She makes sure that she's all right. And physically to the apartment, what does she do? She patches up she puts doilies, lace doilies on the cushions. What was just meant to be a cover for the head, it was all over the place because she's trying to cover what looks really worn on the sofa. So she tries her best. Yeah, she tries her best to make it comfortable, make it nice and ideal for the family. Okay, so and she goes out of the way to make things good for them. She goes against everything her kids want just to get that house so that her family will be happy. So you see how Mama takes care of the family despite how little she has, and how much she has to do just to keep it going. She does the same for the plant. Okay, so here so now I hope you understand what I mean by a symbol. Okay, what she does for the plant and what the plant is like. You see the same thing in the family, what the family is like and what she does for the family, and hoping that this family will grow just like she's hoping that the plant will grow. This plant also represents the dream that she had with Walter. You see, when she married Walter, they moved into this place, when they were first married, it wasn't going to be a permanent place, okay? But now they've had kids and the kids are all grown up and kids have kids. So it just wasn't something they planned, okay? They always wanted a house with a garden. And so I suppose this plant, which she's had all these years, could represent the garden that they always wanted, okay? So she's not only taking care of this plant, like how she takes care of the family, she's also taking care of this plant, like how she's still harboring that dream that she had with Walter, and she's trying to keep it alive so that she can keep that dream alive. I don't think she wants either to die. Okay, so here we see the symbol, the first symbol, which is the plant. Okay, the next symbol is Benita's hair. Okay, so from what we see in the play, Benita is a really trendy person. Okay, she finds all these new things and she wants to do it. The guitar classes, the horse riding. I suppose they were all trends at the time, and I think the hair. I suppose it's easier than guitar lessons and horse riding. It's easy to change your hairstyle based on the current trends, and I think that's what Benita's done. And because she was trendy that way, her hair kept with the times as well. Okay, now Asagai calls it mutilated. I think she basically did things to her hair to keep up with the current trends. And the thing is, I mean, the trends, they are set by the majority. And at that time, I think, well, the majority being white, I suppose the hair trends suited them and the texture of their hair better than the African type hair. But, she tried to follow. So maybe that's why it didn't look suitable for the texture. And maybe that's why Asagai said it's mutilated. You always say mutilated when something doesn't look nice. And so, yeah, she was trendy. Okay. And then there was that conversation that she had with Asagai about being an assimilationist, someone who's trying to assimilate with the culture of the majority, and he kind of implied that maybe she was not appreciating her roots. And he even quoted her. He says, the first time I saw you, you came and asked me, you said to me, I want to know where I come from, or something like that. So he reminded her of that. And maybe that kind of hit a nerve. And so after that, she decided no more. She's not going to do whatever it is she did with her hair anymore. Yeah, and she decided to cut it short and keep it, tight to the head, like how a typical African girl would. And this was, I suppose, her way of saying that she is accepting her heritage. Okay, and you can see this in the way she talks about Africa, and it was as though she was trying to say that this is her acceptance, okay, of Asagai, of his culture, of Nigeria. And at the end, he even asked her to go with him to Africa, which she actually didn't say no to. Okay, so of course you have other things to represent the African culture. You've got the costume, the music, but these are all superficial. This is hair. It's part of her. It's growing from her head, and so for her to actually decide to make herself more African, it really shows her acceptance of the culture. Okay, so this is the second symbol. The third symbol is food. Okay, now why do I consider food a symbol here? Because you find that they don't talk about things, okay, but they use food. There is love in the family. They're yelling at each other, but there's love in the family. You know why? Because they're cooking for each other. When Ruth has that conversation with Walter, and he's saying, "Hey, why don't you talk to Mama about this?" And she's, I'm not going to do that because, just eat your eggs." Yeah, and she cooks the eggs, and she eat. She's not. I mean, if minus the eggs, minus her making his breakfast, you will not think that she cares much for him. But the fact that she actually still cooks the eggs for him every morning, it's a rehearsed thing, okay? It's something she does every morning, because although he says he does not want scrambled eggs, she just scrambles it anyway because it's just done by rote, it's a habit. And so no matter what, you know that when she cooks those eggs for Walter in the morning, she still sees herself as his wife, and that devotion is there, and she does care about him, and she does love him. So it's not something she talks about, but she shows it by food, by giving him his breakfast in the morning. Okay. Food also means acceptance. Now you see, when Asagai came to visit, you see, Mama doesn't know much about Africa. Okay, we see that because Benita already told Mama, don't ask stupid questions, okay, when he comes around. It's very embarrassing. So obviously it's a culture that is alien, and people, we all know when something is very different, it's hard to accept. But at the end of his visit, Mama says, you should come around for dinner. I think that is a sign of acceptance. Okay, she's accepting him. I don't know if she's accepting him as her boyfriend, but no, not Mama's boyfriend, Benita's boyfriend. But it is clearly a sign of acceptance. Like, she's actually looking forward to him coming again. So yeah. Now, the third point, you see, you know how you hear people say when you come into a house and you smell food, or you smell something cooking, something in the oven, it smells like home. So if you look at the apartment, it's really sad, and it's very drab, and it's I don't know, it's like a hole. But somehow, just having a functioning kitchen with them cooking every now and then, you find that it somehow looks like a home. It feels like a home. That functioning kitchen, where food comes to sustain the family, that this is where the family comes for sustenance, and where they come to refuel, and where they energize. So food here also just makes the house feel like home. Okay, so you have three symbols. All right, first is the plant, second is Benita's hair, and third is food. Okay, so now you have it, the motifs and the symbols in A Raisin in the Sun.